Ciao Roberto.
Roberto, tell me, what did you do back home?
Government work. I'm retired now.
It's catch-up time on talking about the movies, and today we're starting off with two threequels that came out in the last month. Denzel Washington returns as Robert McCall in The Equalizer 3, plus...
I do not believe in psychics.
Come with me to a seance. Spot the con I can't.
Detective, you are here to discredit me, but I can talk to the dead.
Kenneth Branagh once again portrays Hercule Poirot in the third installment of Agatha Christie's mystery series, A Haunting in Venice. A double feature today on Talking About the Movies. Yes, it's a new Talking About the Movies, finally, after over a month. And we're going to be doing a lot of catching up on some movies that have come out over the last month. I know I haven't been going to the movies as much as I usually do. That's because I go to the Pick games. I got sick in the middle of September, so I couldn't go to the movies then. But we have a lot of catching up to do, and that's going to start off today with a couple of movies that I saw yesterday that came out a while ago. We're going to talk about The Expendables 3, and then we're going to talk about the new Hercule Poirot movie, A Haunting in Venice. So these next couple of weeks, there'll be a lot of catching up to do, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and jump on into it, and we'll start off with The Equalizer 3. Of course, The Equalizer 3 is the third installment, the final installment of the Equalizer trilogy that began back in 2014 with Denzel Washington. All the films have been directed by Antoine Fuqua. And interestingly enough, Denzel Washington's in that category of actors like Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler that they rarely make sequels to their biggest hits. You know, they rarely make sequels to their big hit films. Like Jim Carrey finally got around to it later on down the road, doing stuff like Kick-Ass 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 after kind of having a bad experience working on Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. And Adam Sandler has only done a couple of sequels, like Grown Ups 2. I think that's Murder Mystery 2. That's the other one he just did recently. So there are actors out there who very rarely make sequels to their hit movies, but this is the one that Denzel Washington always keeps coming back to, and I guess it's because of the director, Antoine Fuqua. I mean, he is a talented director who's done stuff like Training Day with him, The Magnificent Seven. I mean, these two work together so well. And this is, of course, also based off of the television series of the same name, the original Edward Woodward series of the 80s. And I guess now we have the Queen Latifah reboot, which I've not seen, but I've heard it's pretty good. But I'm pretty sure that this has nothing to do with the TV series whatsoever, and it's set up in its own universe. And basically, the plot here is that you have Denzel Washington returning as Robert McCall. He discovers that his new friends of a small town in South Italy are intimidated by the members of the Camorra, where he sets out to free them from their control, and chaos ensues, if you've seen the other Equalizer films. And I really like the Equalizer films a lot. I like the way that they handle the action sequences in here. I like the killing scenes they're done very well. I really like the first one a lot. I really like the second one, too, especially the ending that kind of reminded me of the end of Patriot Games, where it takes place in the rain and during this massive storm. I've loved these movies. I've been a big fan of these movies since the beginning, so I was definitely looking forward to checking this one out. And I'm happy to report that this is just as good as the other two movies. I wouldn't say... I still have to think about it. I don't know if I like this more than I like the first Equalizer film, which I still think is the best one, but it's pretty close. That's kind of the thing with these movies. They're so close to each other in terms of its box office and in terms of the enjoyment factor to them that they're just great movies overall. They're good, fun action movies, and you can tell that Denzel Washington is putting his commitment into these films because he likes working on these projects with Antoine Fuqua, and he likes this idea of working the story around them. The action sequences, I think, in this one probably are the best ones overall. They show you how, kind of like how Robert Downey Jr. and Sherlock Holmes fights his enemies. Like they show how he beats his enemies in here, doing slow motion and doing in this slick style that works kind of to this film's advantage. I mean, I think it works very well here. I think they did a fantastic job of handling that in this film. It's also cool to see Washington reuniting with Dakota Fanning, who the last time they worked together was on Man of Fire, which is one of Tony Scott's great movies, and it's great to see them in this movie as well, back together again, seeing an older Dakota Fanning. And you also have a really good supporting cast. It also includes David Denham from The Office, and some really good visuals, like the look of Sicily. It's Sicily, yeah. Sicily looks really nice. Like it's always going to look great on the big screen. I mean, it looks so cool to see on there. And the cinematography is very good. The music overall is very good. The action sequences are nicely done. it's a good, fun movie. I really had a great time with it. And, you know, and I think it's the same writer, too, who's also done these movies, Richard Rank, who I think he did the other 2 movies as well. Like, this team clearly likes the fact that they're doing these movies every couple of years. They always find new ways to keep the enjoyment there going, and I think it does a very good job of handling those situations. I think they do a very good job of these movies, keeping them entertaining, and it's a shame that we're not going to see any more of this particular trilogy, although they have been talking about maybe doing a prequel with his son, John David Washington, who, I've said Denzel Washington's my favorite actor out there, and I really do like his son as an actor. He's made a lot of good films, too. There's a new one that came out this weekend, The Creator, which I have yet to see yet, but, like, it'd be cool to see him do that in a prequel. They also are talking about maybe Michael B. Jordan, too. Either one of them would probably work very well here. I think it'd be cool to see a prequel version of the storyline with these characters, but overall, yeah, I thought The Equalizer 3 was a very enjoyable film. If you like the first 2 movies, you're definitely going to find a lot to really appreciate about this film. I give it a big thumbs up. I really enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend checking it out. If you've seen the other Equalizer films, you're more than likely going to love this movie. So definitely check this one out if you can still check it out. So with that said, let's get to another threequel that came out in the last month, and that is A Haunting in Venice. Of course, this is based off of Agatha Christie's famous character, Hercule Poirot. This is actually the 3rd film that Kenneth Branagh has done as this character, the first one being Murder on the Orient Express, and the second one being Death on the Nile, and now this one is based off of Halloween Party, but it's called A Haunting in Venice here. And it does serve as a sequel to Death on the Nile, which, despite the fact that that film only came out last year, it was supposed to come out in 2020. Remember, COVID really screwed up the releasing schedule here, so these films that have been were on the shelf for a number of months because of COVID finally came out around a certain time. And this is a film where you have the storyline here is that it's a post-World War II where Hercule Poirot is now retired, he's living in exile, and he's reluctantly attending a seance, but when one of the guests is murdered, it's up to the former detective to once again uncover the killer. And I think maybe the biggest thing that might ding the film a little bit for some people is that it doesn't have that star-studded cast that the other 2 movies did. Like, Murder on the Orient Express had Daisy Ridley from Star Wars, they had Johnny Depp, Michelle Pfeiffer, Willem Dafoe, trying to remember who else was in there. I was about to say Daveed Diggs, but I was thinking of Leslie Odom Jr. You had Jared Jacobi, Judi Dench, Penelope Cruz. I mean, Death on the Nile, they had Gal Gadot in there, Armie Hammer, Russell Brand, Letitia Wright, Annette Bening, Sophia Okonedo, Jennifer Saunders. Here, I think the biggest stars in here are Michelle Yeoh, who of course just won an Academy Award for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey, and Tina Fey. That's kind of it. I mean, Kelly Riley, I guess you could throw her in there too because she's on Yellowstone, but it's definitely a much smaller cast than the previous films. But I think that actually kind of works to the film's advantage. I really like these movies a lot. I still think Murder on the Orient Express stands out as the best one of the 3. Death on the Nile, I thought was okay, but it definitely could have been a whole lot better considering the talent they had on board here. This is probably my second favorite one in the series. I love that each of these movies take a different tone. Like, this one is more of a mystery horror film. Like, the last film was more of a... Like, the first film was kind of like a Snowpiercer type of storyline where it takes place in the snow. This takes place in the bayous of New Orleans. Is it New Orleans? It's been a while since I've seen Death on the Nile, but I think it takes place in New Orleans. I could be mistaken on that one. Let me just double check just to make sure. The movie is literally called Death on the Nile, and I didn't put together that it was in Egypt. But yeah, like Death on the Nile, like that takes place in Egypt, and now you have the Haunting in Venice, which takes place in Italy, and definitely feels more like a mystery horror film. There's definitely a lot of aspects you'd see in most horror films, but it's not done in the typical modern-day horror fashion, and that's what I kind of appreciate about the film. I like the fact that it doesn't take the route of films like The Nun 2 or these newer horror movies. Like, it's legit. Like, when the scary moments happen and the chilling moments happen in here, they do feel very genuine. They don't feel like they're forcing it down on you like they are in most modern-day horror films. This film feels very much refined and feels legitimate when it's doing what it has to do here. And it's a very good film. It's a darker, spookier turn on the Poirot storyline. And for Halloween, this is a perfect Halloween movie to go see. Like, I kind of wish they kind of released it a little bit closer to Halloween, but you do get invested in the mystery so much, and that's kind of that's what makes these movies kind of fun. You get so invested in the mystery, then you think that even though Hercule Poirot knows some of the people that he has to put into this situation, he knows that everybody is a suspect, and he has to do whatever it takes to find out who caused the murder and what happens from there. And I think it does a very good job of handling that in these movies. And I think in here, it's a very good storyline. Like, you do get his plight. You do feel very conflicted with what Hercule Poirot has to go through in these films. And once again, Kenneth Branagh just puts all of his effort and time into this movie, and it just makes it so, like, he knows, like, you could tell watching this movie, he knows exactly what kind of a story is what he wants to do with these storylines. You can tell he's fully committed to this, just like how Denzel Washington is with the Equalizer films. And kind of like with the Equalizer, it's a lot of the same people. I mean, Kenneth Branagh is starring and directing. It's written by Michael Green, who wrote the other two films in the series. So these guys clearly have a good idea of what these stories could be like in modern times. And I'd be really curious to see if there's what more they could do with them in films. Like, there's definitely a lot more you can do with these stories. I mean, there's a ton of stories based off of Hercule Poirot out there that could be made into a movie. So hopefully this could continue on. I'm very curious to see where they'll go from there. As far as the movie goes, I really enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely not as good as Murder on the Orient Express, but I thought it was a vast improvement over something like Death on the Nile. The gothic style, the visual feel really gives it that edge. The fact that they go straight up into a horror thriller aspect, I think that's very well done. I think they do a fantastic job of keeping you invested in what's going on no matter what happens. It's a film that really, really is well done. Very crafty, very well put together. I highly recommend it. I can't recommend this one enough. I definitely give this one also a big thumbs up. So, 2 for 2 on movies that I really like that came out in the last month. So, and like I said before, we still got a lot of movies to catch up on. Next week, I'm going to try to go see Expendables 4. And then I think Dumb Money opens up next weekend too. And then I'll try to go see The Exorcist Believer and then The Creator before the month is done. So, it's going to be a busy month here, so be on the lookout for that. And I know these reviews are kind of shorter than usual, but I kind of want to rush through these pretty quickly because you've pretty much heard everything you needed to know about these movies. I don't think I really need to delve too much into what these movies are. If you've seen them already, if you haven't already seen them already. But with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time for the next review. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.